Good evening. It's a real pleasure to be with you here this evening. My name is Hilary Sandel-Atkins, and I'm an area manager who serves with Christian Horizons in Saskatchewan. We're a nonprofit, charitable, faith-informed organization who journey alongside people who experience disability in the provinces of Saskatchewan, Ontario, and in 8 countries around the world. Our vision is that people who experience disability belong to communities in which their God-given gifts are valued and respected. We journey alongside folks with differing abilities, offering a variety of services, including residential supports, educational opportunities, employment training, and readiness, as well as community-based activity programming. We feel very strongly that communities are made better and function at their best when there is a place for everyone and everyone feels belonging. Of course, we're all here this evening to welcome and learn from Gary Tinker, our keynote speaker. Gary has spent his life advocating for those with disabilities, especially those in Northern and Indigenous communities. As the founder of the Gary Tinker Federation, an organization that serves the disabled of Northern Saskatchewan, Gary's advocacy has taken him to meetings with every Prime Minister, from Jean Chretien to Justin Trudeau, as well as meeting with Queen Elizabeth II. In 1989, when he was 22, he spent 79 days walking with crutches from Ronge to Regina to raise awareness about the need for disability supports in the North. Since then, he's traveled to the House of Commons several times to continue his fight for justice. Grosvenor Park United Church is thrilled to have Gary with us to share his inspiring life story. Besides his advocacy work, he will touch on how he's been impacted by events such as the Sixties Scoop and mental health challenges. Gary's talk will be followed by a short interview and Q&A. Please join me in welcoming Gary.
Well, thank you for this beautiful opportunity to address you guys this evening. Well, I'll tell you a little story. I'll be brief as much as I can. I was brought up in the white society world as an Indigenous child. At that time, in 1967, I was born with cerebral palsy. So at the time, it was built the social services system. That's when it came out. It used to be called safety net for families, that the parents or the guardians or mothers that went to work, or the fathers that went to work far away, like my father, right? So he had to go to work to Manitoba, Churchill, Manitoba, in 1960s, in the 50s at the time. So they gave my mom some money to take care of us 19 children in a household. But after my father came back, then that's when social services, okay, the dad's back, now she doesn't need that program now. So that's how it was set up. And then it became social services. So in 1969 to 67, 69, I was probably around age of 2. I was taken away from my homeland, my Métis homeland and the Indigenous homeland as well. So it was probably really hard on my mother for sure, and my dad for sure, because I think the Catholic Church was involved of the decision making at that time of that moment. It was probably very hard for my parents to do that, to have a better education or better services for my future. Well, the first time I met my father, I was 5 years old, maybe probably 5 or 6. I was living in McNabb Park or something like that. I think that's what it was called back then. So I think it was, what's that school called? It used to be, I can't remember now. But a children's rehab center. Jack Andrews was the social worker for that school at that time. So many times I couldn't call anyone. There was no communication, at least maybe 10 months to a year before I could see my parents. Because it was a flying community. So my father kept me for 2 years because I lost my language. So my language, I had to relearn my language. Soon as I learned my language, again, social services came in there, took me away. It was a lonely time, very lonely time, because I got to know my sisters, brothers, grandma, my grandparents. But I knew, my dad knew he couldn't handle it. And I think my father really worked, he was a work alcoholic, I guess to say. I don't know how to pronounce that properly, but I don't know if my father couldn't handle it. He was never there when these things happened to me. But it was a tough journey, age of 13 or 12, somewhere in that area, 13, turning a teenager back in 81. That was my April 7th or sometime in April. That's the last time I saw my father. I didn't realize I was going to see him last time of my life. Time when he put me on an aircraft, a small plane, landed at the airport. I flew back to Saskatoon, and I never thought that that'll be the last time I'm going to see my dad. He committed suicide during that year. I didn't find out until 48 hours later, because they didn't know how to, my foster parents didn't know how to tell me of the crisis that I had to face, right? So it was a very tough time. At the time in the North, there was no mental health help, how to deal with a crisis or, with the symptoms of your life or guess anger came with it. Like, what the hell happened here? Like, what happened to our father? What's going on? People were too proud not to share their tough moments, especially up north. Very proud Aboriginal people, right? So they are very hidden mess of depression or alcohol in the north. It was a very hidden miss. And I don't know if it was the first suicide in the north, I'm not sure. That was very devastating for me. I don't know how to feel at that time. Felt numb all over the body, shock. Sometimes you didn't feel like when somebody tries to comfort you, but it's not the same without your parents there or your siblings standing there with you, side by side. So by the time I landed in Ronge, it was North Canair, I think they called it or something at the time. That's how I flew to Ronge, and they had highway already. I think the highway came in 1976. So it was great. I was happy to see that when the road came in. And then there's a lot of negative, stories about Pine House at the time. Fifth Estate came in there. They're supposed to do a business. They're supposed to be talking about, people that are trappers, fishermen, how they survive in the north. That's supposed to be the actual story of survival in the north. But they turned it around and they made it into a Canadian, the drinking capital of Canada. Where we were in the mud with that Fifth Estate. It was a big black eye for us. So in 82, when I went back home, my real time, I went back home. And then all of a sudden I turned 20 years old. And all of a sudden, what am I going to do for my future? My dad is not around anymore. So I had to come up with a solution for the people, Indigenous people in the north, right? So I decided to walk to Regina. A lot of people didn't believe me at first. I had to come in see a specialist, make sure I was well fit to do so. I was 71 pounds. Well, shit, the doctor said, what the hell, Gary, you're going to kill yourself on the road. But he saw there's a fire in your eyes, or when you believe in something, nothing is impossible, right? So he said, okay, sign this agreement, this waiver, just in case if you don't gain any weight, I'm going to pull the plug. Okay, doc, I'll do that. So I walked out from the doctor's office, went back home, got it, the doctor signed it. So they told me to exercise, eat. So I exercised a lot at the time in Pine House. When the time came that day, I believe I left Pine House July 29th, because I started in August. I think it was August the 1st, I believe. Yeah, that's when I started, August the 1st. You know, the first time I decided to walk to Regina, a lot of people didn't believe in me at first, because I was skinny like a broom, you know. And Gary's not going to make it. What's going to happen then if something happens to Gary? These questions arise, you know. But, you know, there was a gentleman, Lawrence Yu, was my mentor, spiritual mentor, or whatever you call it. He was a second MLA of Athabasca in 1977. So I was very lucky to meet Mr. Yu as administrator in Pine House. But he believed in me. He knew. No, he said, Greg, he's going to make it. No, I'm serious, he's going to make it. I know it. You know, they're arguing back and forth in the office. And Mr. Ross just got elected as a mayor at that year, you know, new council. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Ross, you know, they like to smoke him and Lawrence, eh? Just smoke like a chimney at the time, you know. And then all of a sudden, Greg Ross, you know, takes me into the mayor's office and, sit down, Gary. You know, what the hell are you thinking? What are we going to do? You know, we didn't know how to phone people. We didn't know how to communicate with people. We didn't know where to start. But Pine House came through. It cost us at the time, the walk itself, about $30,000. That was lots back in the day for the community of Pine House. So anyway, the funny parts, and good moments and funny parts. Well, this one day I was walking, and the doctor always told me, drink lots. Don't forget to drink lots. So I drank Gatorade, but it smelled like pee at the time, because it was the first time in Gatorade. You had to mix it in powder, right? So I drank Gatorade. Boy, this one time, I needed a pee, you know, so badly. And my brother was driving the vehicle, and he was so far away. Oh, geez, I don't know, you know, the wind was blowing towards my face. I needed a pee so bad, right? So he was coming, so I figured he saw me. I needed him, so I said, well, there's no traffic. I'll just take a pee on the pavement. Nobody will see it anyway. So, because we're so used to it, we're in the north, right? You know, so I just peed in the pavement. So slowly he was coming in, slowly coming in. And I didn't realize he was coming. So I was peeing like this, and, you know, the back of me there. He didn't realize the truck was moving. So he hit me right in the spot. Splatter all over my pee, all over. Right? Oh, we're going to kill Gary. What the hell? You know, we're going to get in trouble. You know? But because we have such good humor in the north, right? And at first I was mad. I said, what the hell are you doing? Like, what the hell are you thinking? You know, he was fixing that tape deck, I guess, you know, trying to make a music or whatever. And then there was a guy named Brian Iron. He was my childhood friend, you know. He's the most clowny person in that group. So he started laughing. You know, and at first I started laughing. after all that pee all over my body, I started laughing. Then everybody started laughing. So, and pee all over my body, my skin, and And then Brian copied me the way I looked, and he showed his little butt there, the way how I looked, So we laughed at that, for hours. So I couldn't walk that day because I was too busy laughing. These moments, And then we got into Prince Albert. Boy, I was excited. That's the first time ever. Now they believed that I'm going to make it. Gary's going to make it. Look, he did it. So that day when I got in, the doctors had to weigh me. I'm hoping, I hope I gain some weight here a little bit. Finally, the doctor comes in there, weighs me. I gained 7 pounds. Woo! I was happy. Hey, boys, we're going to make it. Oh, the doctor said we can go, So that night, we hit the hotel. There was a sign, like in a van, We had Lauren, she was driving, It was so excited. We made it to Prince Albert, and everybody was just so happy that we did. And then we were coming into the hotel, and there were, you know how it is, that it's like that bridge line, We had a sign like this, and we hit the hotel. $1,800 later. Holy shit. Holy cow. Lawrence, what are we going to do? Don't panic, there's no panic. That's what he was saying, because I was worried, $1,800 damage. Holy moly. So they hit me because they didn't want me to be seen by managers, because already the name itself, Gary Tinker, is on the way, right? So I had to hide from the media, because they had to protect me, right? And then all of a sudden we made it. $1,800 later, Mr. Ross, of course, said a few words, rough words on us, but after that he forgave us, We had a good laugh and stuff like that, and, Gary's not dead anyway, so he's okay, So we made it to Saskatoon. We made it to Saskatoon. That was a magic moment of my life, Being in Saskatoon. Wow. There were so many people, Indigenous leaders, mayors, chiefs, Métis leaders, all across the province. I'm such a humbled man that it didn't bother me, the cameras. It just didn't bother me. The reason why, I think, because I had very humbled a coach, mentor. Just be yourself. He always told me to be myself. And then Regina came. Well, the premier never showed up, so even though I had 1,500 people to talk to, that's the first time I had 1,500 people in that one setting. So anyway, first we toured the legislature in the Wascana Park, before my night, right? So Lawrence was always calm, Lawrence, how many cameras are going to be there? So he peeks in the door there. Just a few, maybe 2 or 3. That's all he said. Don't be nervous. Everything will be fine. Next thing I know, first time they meet George MacLeod. He was the minister for, I think, Northern Affairs or something like that. It was the PC government was in power at the time. George MacLeod was from Meadow Lake area, I believe. So anyway, Lawrence and I were walking. The reporters were talking to George MacLeod, and then all of a sudden Lawrence said, they don't want to talk to George MacLeod, they want to talk to you. And then he pushed me right in the center of the, holy shit. All these cameras are all over my face. I couldn't, there was a French guy, I didn't know what he was asking me, but I tried my best to explain, and nobody was there to interpret. So, that stuff. And then from there, it escalated my life. One thing Lawrence taught me, do not drink. Do not get yourself into trouble. I always thought about it and I didn't understand why. Until the end of the walk. He said, no, the walk is done, now the adventures start. You're going to be invited to go speak to other people. People are going to be watching you, what you do. He said, not about 10 years from now, people are going to get to know you all over the country, he said. Well, at first I didn't believe him. Now I do. Even when I'm walking down Ottawa, hey, that's Gary right there. So, all right, so, great, I'm so proud of myself and the people out there that have Aboriginal descent, Métis. I'm so proud of it. And then, but I had some stumbling blocks along the way. My brother died in a car, 2.5 years old at the time when I was walking. I was close to Regina. They came and told me that he drowned in a vehicle accident. I didn't know how to really react or how do I heal. By the time we got to Pine House, I had to postpone my walk for a good 10 days, I think. It was a tough journey, ladies and gentlemen, but it was a good journey at the same time. Fun, sometimes it's hardship, but you gotta have humor in your belly, in your heart. This one time, there was 2 aircrafts that landed in Pine House, Saskatchewan. We were invited to go meet the Prime Minister and the Premier and all this and that. There was 2 planes for Gary Tinker and the crew to meet the people out there. So I told Lawrence, hey Lawrence, I'm going to go take a pee in the bush here. Before we fly out, can I go take a pee in the bush? Yeah, go ahead. Everybody was so excited. Everybody's going to go to Regina legislature and all this and that. And all of a sudden I was peeing in the bush and all of a sudden the planes took off. Well, standing there on the winter side, I thought they came with me. So Lawrence, of course, and Greg Ross was on that other plane, and they called the other pilot. Is Gary in your manifesto, you know? No, Mr. Tinker's not in here. Well, he's not in this plane. Where is he? So they had to turn back. Then Lawrence, Hugh, and Greg Ross come up from the plane. Oh, the main star! We left the main star! everybody was laughing on the plane and all this and that, you know. Boy, these funny moments, you know. That's how the North survives. Is humor and compassion. Compassion to action, ladies and gentlemen. That's the key to success in this world. You can't stay bitter, get better, and do something about it, right? Someday, I'm going to be the next MLA in the province of Saskatchewan. That's my next goal. And then I'm writing my book as well. These reporters asked me, how did you meet Jean Chretien? I just picked up the phone call. I just picked up the phone and said, can I meet Mr. Chretien? And I was in Ottawa. I was staying at the Delta Hotel in Ottawa. That was my first time to experience Ottawa. The time zone. And Chretien was in Washington at the time when I got there. But you know, I was there for about a week anyway, so. And all of a sudden I seen the TV and says, okay, Chretien is coming home. He's in Ottawa now. And so I picked up the phone and at the hotel. And I don't know what they call those people, those entourage. I don't know, those bellmen or whatever they call them, right? Bellmen? So anyway, I said, oh yeah, this is Gary Tinker here calling. How do I get a hold of the Prime Minister's office? Oh, we'll connect you, Mr. Tinker, no problem. So, you know, all of a sudden, the Prime Minister's office answers one of his staff members. Oh yeah, we know who you are. What can I do for you, sir? Oh, don't call me sir yet. I'm not the Prime Minister yet, I said. Can I have a sit down with the Prime Minister? I want to meet with him, and I've never been in Ottawa. Is there a time slot for me to be fit in? We'll get back to you, sir. We'll get back to you in 10 minutes. Let us discuss this thing with him, and then we'll get back to you in 10 minutes. Oh, shit, they'll never call, you know. So next thing I know, 10 minutes later, I got a call. Yeah, he wants to see you. Holy shit. So, you know, and they said, oh, the vehicle's going to come and pick you up, one of his entourage or whatever it is, I don't know. So they drove me down there and said, holy, you're going to meet the Prime Minister. How the hell did you pull that off, you know? It takes about 2-3 years to meet before the Prime Minister. That's how long it takes. And I said, well, I'm actually his boss. We can fire him anytime we want. Because we're the ones that vote. Oh, yeah, you made a point there. Good point, Dad. Sometimes we forget. We vote these people, they can fire you. But after 5 o'clock, you're no longer my boss, right? It's the same thing. So, and then all of a sudden, I walked into his office. And how the hell did he get in there? Nobody meets the Prime Minister in his office. Who the hell is this guy? Everybody was whispering, because usually the Prime Minister meets the people out in the open, not in his office. You know, I'm so blessed today to sit here today, every day. And then my family started believing me. Whatever Gary wants, he's going to get. If it's important for Aboriginal individual people like myself. So I told him, hey, Mom, I'm going to go skydiving. What? I'm going to go skydiving. We believe you. Yeah, I know he can do it. Once you make up your mind, I know he will do it. So I went skydiving. So my family started calling me balls. He's got balls. You know, he'll do whatever he wants to do. So they started calling me a nickname now. So that's my nickname is Balls. And my family only, you know, but. And then after that, I started meeting a lot of people. Mr. Hansen, Wheel in Motion. There's a couple actors that I met. Gordon Deduces, you know, famous politicians. Jim Sinclair. He was very instrumental on the Constitution. I didn't understand at the time because I was pretty young to understand what Constitution meant. I didn't realize they were protecting my rights as an individual, as a Métis Indigenous person. Then I met Elijah Harper, you know, Meech Lake Accord. What the hell is Meech Lake Accord? Like, come on, explain that to me. You know, he finally sat down with me. What Meech Lake Accord is supposed to be is all the provinces of our Canada-wide, I think it's 7 provinces, maybe less. They're supposed to be all prime ministers, all the premiers of Canada. So, Elijah Harper was in Parliament at the time in Ottawa, asked that question to the Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. He said, what about us, Indigenous people? Am I going to be the next Prime Minister for our people in this Meech Lake Accord? That's what this Meech Lake Accord was. He wasn't part of the solution, Elijah Harper. So he killed the entire program. He knew, the Prime Minister knew he had the last say, Elijah Harper. He knew that. In his heart he knew. $40 million later, it went out the door. He said no to Meech Lake. That's how it died. Because they wouldn't give him that power to take care of us, Elijah Harper. He didn't want him to be the Prime Minister of our people. So that's why it fell apart. So that's why he killed it. So these people that I met, holy smokes, it's unbelievable. I'm so blessed to sit here today being an Aboriginal individual. Like I said, Someday, I am going to run for MLA. I want to inspire people like you, everybody else that walks in this earth. You have something to offer in this country. It's not about the disability, it's about the ability. We have to stop looking at the outside appearance. You have to start looking at the heart and the brain. Right? Does it make sense? Come on now. If I can meet Guy Lafleur, if I can meet Bobby Orr, Tiger Williams, I met so many. Guy Lafleur, I never thought I would sit down with that guy. Wow. Sitting down in a hockey arena with Tiger Williams, had a stack of money, he put it in his sock. Holy shit. You know, Bobby Orr, I met with him. I forgot this one gentleman with a mustache, and I can't remember his name. I know he played for Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't quite remember his name. I wish I can remember. But anyway, I didn't realize he had a mental illness daughter. So he had a really compassionate for that. I'm so glad to meet with him, to talk to me about how do you survive in the North? How do you get these services into the North? I want to invite every individual, nonprofit organizations in the North, all of them to come and see what we're talking about when I become an ex-MLA. And at the same time, my dream is I want to work on the mental illness piece. Because I had a mental breakdown at one time in my life. I did. I don't know, I'm so blessed again. Meeting with Sandra Schmurler, the people that had mental illness. Just because you have a name, sometimes you break down, right? So today, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, take care of your well-being. Then you can help your communities of this province of yours. Take care of you first. Then you can push the wagon. You can push the dream forward. Get better first, not to stay better. Do the action, compassion, you'll succeed. My own language I want to use a little bit. Stasimi tin ano sutaga tipskak utaga apian to kakapin to Rome. Kistaw mistahagi we kapikutana all in this country. Boyak in this country is free. We have freedom of speech. But you know what? Like I said, I'll be the next MLA in the future. So I'll be sitting down with you guys eventually. But I'm there to help, whatever I can do. It doesn't matter where you come from, what race you are, we're all the same. Sixties Scoop, I didn't like the Premier saying sorry to me because there was nothing in it. Those are empty words. And it hurt me more. They should have done something for us back then. These things would never happen to us. But I'm going to make it better for all of us. Enough is enough. Enough of that. And I am going to represent this area, the province of ours, someday. I want to be a legend. That's what I want. All right?